You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner. And on today's episode, we are carrying the banner as we review Newsies. But first, Eddie, how are you and the family doing?
We've been better. We have now joined the cool club. I'd like to say that we contracted COVID-20 because, I'm special. No, I'm joking. So we've been sick. We came down with the COVID, as some people like to call it, or just COVID as others. My wife and I had a very interesting discussion about this. So you say that I got the flu, or you say I have a cold, you're right. You put the article in front of it. But with COVID, the majority of people just say, I got COVID.
I got COVID.
I got COVID.
We got COVID at one point. You got COVID.
We all gonna get some COVID.
But you were on the mend.
I am doing better. I'm still in quarantine or isolation, whatever you call it, for another, I think, 5 days. So I'm not allowed. I haven't left my basement in 10 days.
This that is astounding. This almost didn't happen. This podcast today almost didn't happen because I didn't even initiate. I was just assuming, Eddie's sick, not gonna be doing this podcast. And then you texted me, probably because you're going insane in that basement.
I am. I've had to find some things to do, and just to be able to keep myself from losing my mind. Some of which has been model making. For those of you watching, I made a model of a Resistance X-Wing, not to be confused with the Rebel. Okay, this is blue lining.
Totally
that
different.
means totally different. That means it's a new era. Okay.
It's got a gold base on it, or some sand. Well, is that sand? Is that sand?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like sand, like it's
for the podcast listeners. This is very detailed. Very detailed. It's off at a slight axis because it's kind of turning a little bit, so it isn't a perfect horizon.
You ready? You ready for your mind to be blown? The wings close,
open and close,
and open.
Attack
mode. How cool is that?
Stealth mode. I have not seen a model that you built that looks like that.
The blaster shots coming out. You see that?
Mid blast. This is something. This is crazy. Is that the only model you did?
Of course not. Are you ready? Coming into view, landing, descending. I made a lunar module, or the LIM, if you are a NASA nut like me.
For you insiders.
Here's my favorite thing. Here's, of course, the stairs that Neil Armstrong would have come down and everything. But the ascent and descent stage separate.
Whoa. They break apart.
Yeah, so you can actually, mimic them not just landing on the moon, but then taking off as well. So, yeah, I saw, which one did I see? One of the later Apollo missions that didn't end up taking off. One of theirs is on display at the Smithsonian. I can't remember the number. And so I've actually seen a real one in person.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm a little bit of a space nerd. I don't know if anybody knew this.
If you haven't heard all of our space references, and every time that I try to explain something space and then Eddie comes around and re-explains, I don't even know what the Eddie-splaining version of that is. But he's very good.
Know-it-all. I'm an insufferable know-it-all.
Well, I'm glad that you're on the mend. I'm glad that
we are doing better,
making the best of your time, and we hope for a full recovery for everybody.
Yeah, we're just trying to, be cool like you guys.
Yeah, we've already done it. We've already been there, done that.
Been there, done that. Nothing.
Yes, and we hope that if you are listening and you are bound to get COVID yourself, that you also are in a good place and not in a hard place. We obviously want to be sensitive for people like that. But for both of us, I think we both made it through without much of a hiccup in there.
It was pretty brutal, not going to lie, but I'm glad it wasn't as bad as others. So praying for those.
Yes.
But that is not what's brought us. This is not a health update podcast. This is not a model building podcast. Though I may start one note.
Yes, we're talking about Newsies today. But before we get started, because we have entered a new year, we just finished up 5 straight movies in 1991. Now
which they really picked up. I mean, this is kind of showing you Disney's strategy of really producing more movies each year.
Mm-hmm. And we've got 5 more for 1992, a great year. This year there's 5 different movies we're going to be talking about. We might even be referencing one in some of the hits. So we wanted to just walk you through the major events for 1992. So Eddie, get us started with the politics.
Yeah, I don't know if I remember my very first presidential election that I can recall was 1992.
Yep.
When Bill Clinton won the presidency. And it was a pretty substantial one because it was one of the few times we've had a major third party candidate in Ross Perot. And many people credit him for kind of the reason why Bill Clinton, was able to win.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a pretty big, very different election than what we've come through, shall I say?
Yes.
I think recently it kind of makes you long for
the good old days.
Simpler elections, yeah.
Simpler elections, yes. Oh, we actually this year, I remember this distinctly because they had all of us in kindergarten actually fake vote, and there's hey, vote. You can vote. These are the 3 people. You can go vote for them. I have no idea who I voted for. But I just remember us going to a little fake voting booth and submitting our ballot, and that's
doing your civic duty.
Exactly. And that was the Bill Clinton year for sure.
Yep. This was also a big year because this was the year that started the North American Free Trade Agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. I'm actually wearing my Mexico sweatshirt. It was pretty significant, created the free trade amongst our 3 countries that contributed quite significantly to the economic boom of the 90s.
Yep. In sports, some less intense stuff, but we had the Washington Redskins won the Super Bowl. Michael Jordan won his 2nd title with the Bulls. We had the Toronto Blue Jays won a title in here. And then we also this year had the Barcelona Olympics.
Sorry, JB, that was the Barcelona Olympics. Barcelona
Olympics.
We also, the Oscar for Best Picture this year was won by Silence of the Lambs. Still kind of one of those classic movies. The highest grossing film of 1992 was one that we will cover here
we will.
Shortly.
And we've referenced in previous episodes.
That would be Aladdin, of course. And then Boyz II Men was the top song, End of the Road. Were you a big Boyz II Men fan?
I appreciated a good Boyz II Men song, but I think that was a little bit later than 1992. This would have been more 5th to 7th grade time. Started to appreciate them a little bit more then.
We also, I was a big fan of this next one. Barney and Friends premiered.
I was so excited when I found that this that happened.
I may have had a Barney themed birthday party, if I recall.
Well, if that's Nancy, if she's still got some plates left over.
She would remember. And then this was you put the note in here. Is this the first year for MTV Real World?
First year for MTV Real World. This was, I know that Survivor and all of those shows came a lot later than this, but Real World was the first reality TV show that came on, and it was 1992.
And that was when MTV became a reality TV network.
Instead of music.
Because it's all they do.
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
Yep. Some other random facts for this year. Mall of America opened the same year. So did Euro Disney in France.
Yeah.
Is that the one that went under or no? Am I making this up?
You're making this up.
Okay.
Almost. It almost went under. So you're not making it up. I should give
It was
you the
in
benefit.
peril. It was in peril for a hot second.
It is what caused Disney so much trouble in the latter half of the 90s and early 2000s.
That's right. I knew that there was chaos. I just went a step too far.
If you go, though, the Imagineering story on Disney Plus covers in great detail not only the building, but they're actually quite honest on how much of a struggle it was. So,
yeah.
But now it's doing great.
Well, that's good to hear. Other things to end this on a sad note, because we always have to have a sad notes for this random section for
no
cover
drugs.
a year. There's no drugs this time. We did have the LA riots. We also had Category 5 Hurricane Andrew decimating Florida.
I remember watching the news after Hurricane Andrew and just being like, wow, just my mind was blown that was possible.
It's always like the big one that everybody compares
Mm-hmm.
to it. How big is this going to be compared to Hurricane Andrew until Katrina came? And then Katrina came and
but there's still like it's still referenced. It's Andrew and Katrina are the two.
Yes.
Two that they go over. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yes.
So substantial year, 1992 for sure. This was the year my family was supposed to move to Indiana. I should have been in kindergarten with you.
We should have been in kindergarten together, but alas, we had to wait an extra year.
Our house would not sell in Missouri, and so that is why we've been friends since first grade instead of kindergarten.
Instead of K5. We would have had to come up with a better friend since first. Just sounds better. It's almost like it was almost like it was meant to happen.
It was meant to
happen. But what is also meant to happen is for us to actually talk about why we came here today, which is to talk about this awesome musical Newsies.
Cue the Disney-ish sound effect.
Well, I was about to ask Eddie if you wanted to read the IMDb description, but it sounds like maybe I should just go ahead and handle it because you had a coughing fit during the interlude there.
Yes. I tried to time it.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. Okay, hold up. A musical based on the New York City newsboy strike of 1899, when young newspaper sellers are exploited beyond reason by their bosses. They set out to enact change and are met by the ruthlessness of big business.
Dun, dun, dun.
There were two sentences here. That's how intense this thing was. I feel like they could have maybe made it into one. But anyways, 1899, musical, New York City, the Newsboys. Not the Newsboys, but Newsboys. Christian music reference there.
How much did you, what's the nostalgia factor for you on this one?
Oh, like I mean, it's through the roof.
Through the roof. Okay.
Through the roof. My sister introduced me, my older sister introduced me to Newsies. It was watched many, many, many times in our household. Too many to count. Could sing along to every one of the songs that came up. Knew most of the lines, most of the big lines, could almost anticipate them coming before they even happened. Huge movie in our household.
Yeah, same here. I mean, this is one of the top movies of like the Disney decade for our family. Like, I can sing every single song from memory, word for word. I can even break off and do the sub harmonies. Like, I'm annoying to watch this movie with because I can like sing the harmony that the guy in the back corner is singing during Carry the Banner.
Where does this rank on the how much you know this movie? On the scale of 0 to That Thing You Do?
I knew you were gonna call it That Thing You Do, because that is the pinnacle
for Eddie.
I love that movie.
Is that a Disney movie? Are we gonna get to that or no?
We're not. It's not a Disney movie.
Okay, whatever.
Sad day.
You're lost, listener.
I need to have a moment. No, it would probably be right below it, and just a notch or two.
Can't go too many more notches because this thing it's incredible. It's great. It's
It
awesome.
really is. I in rewatching it, it was like a reminder of just how it's a good just cinematic adventure. I don't know, like it's just like your big set pieces, these
the rooftops.
Yeah, and these big dance scenes, like it's obvious this was directed by a choreographer. I mean, the whole thing is
Ortega.
built up.
Same guy who did High School Musical.
Kenny Ortega. He goes on from Newsies to do another movie we're going to cover here real soon, and that's Hocus Pocus, which is another cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's just kind of set up to be. It's reminiscent of kind of your old school musicals, which my mom loves. So I grew up watching, all of your Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
I was just about to say that. You introduced me to that as well.
Yeah, Singing in the Rain, Sound of Music, like all of these like big, movie musicals. It feels like that. Like it is definitely made in that vein, but
it's a spectacle. It's a moment. Yeah. It's a big moment. It's a big scene. It's not a small couple having dinner together, but they're having internal drama. No, this is moving, sweeping. I remember rewatching this again. I was looking for the things that I hadn't seen before, but just so interesting. Some of those dance sequences, no one is just like in their own space doing the dance. It's like they're all interacting. They're not really fighting, but they're choreographed together, in and out, battling with sticks and other things like that. There's so much life and so much movement that's happening on the screen, and it's so just engrossing and captivating.
Yeah, and it will zoom in and kind of have these fun little moments. I think shall we get to the lead character and lead actor, I should say, I don't think was picked for his singing and dancing ability.
No. In fact, there was one moment where in one of the songs, for the longest time, I thought he messed up. I thought he fell over and was just like when the line he talks about the earthquake during carrying the banner, he kind of does this, but everybody else has like a very specific motion, and he did not. He kind of like wobbled.
Doesn't know what to do.
The longest time I thought he just like messed up and they had the wrong take, but rewatching it, I was like, no, that's real. What we're talking about is Christian Bale.
Yes.
Out of nowhere.
Pre-Batman,
which is kind of crazy to see him so small of a person at this time. He's around 18 years old when this movie came out, or when the movie came out. So he's probably like 17, and he looks it. He looks very, and actually I appreciated that a lot of times they'll get super older actors to play younger people, like high school, etc. But these kids, they look like kids.
They're all young men.
So incredibly young, like right at that age where, and maybe back in the day, they would have been even younger, 15, 16, whatever. But they're still really young and like pretty frail isn't the right word, but what we know him now, where he's this big, like larger, bulkier, got meat on him, strong person, got meat on him, strong person, from all the Batman movies. It's really interesting to see him this many, many years ago, so much smaller.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's that. I think Santa Fe, the dance and singing through all that, you're like, okay, he's not the strongest singer and dancer in this group, but okay.
But he is the standalone, like that character he plays in here as Jack Kelly, the guy that everybody's looking up to. Mm-hmm. He owns it because he is also the best actor of this entire group. Sure. Obviously, we've still got the characters we love, especially Crutchy, just so endearing even after all these years. But it helps that we have all these kind of no-name, not very well known. Only a couple of people would go on to do much else. One of the guys ended up going in to do Mighty Ducks. But besides that, Christian Bale is far and away the most, especially now, recognized and the best actor of everybody in here of the students. You've still got Robert Duvall and other
Bill
characters
Pullman.
like that. Some great villains in this, which is a huge reason why most of the movies that I love or hate is based off of how good their villains are. Snyder, the guy who's chasing down all the kids and running the show. Robert Duvall as Joseph Pulitzer, which, I mean, I've never heard a name have so much vitriol when they're like Pulitzer. Like there's just so many, it's just a couple syllables, but there's so much vitriol every time they say
Pulitzer and Hertz. Pulitzer, they think they own us.
I can't even do it. Pulitzer. And in that accent, it's so good. But I've gone down a very random rabbit trail to get to this point. But yes, Christian Bale.
Isn't that what's crazy is like for a movie that's just kind of settled into kind of more of a cult classic of a movie, not necessarily like your Beauty and the Beast or, kind of.
Yep.
It's got a deep bench of really strong actors. I mean, just to have Christian Bale and Robert Duvall alone in it, and Bill Pullman. I mean, he was at the top of his game in the 90s. That's pretty spectacular to have that in a movie. And it's what makes it more than just a kid's movie. It really kind of pushes it up to another level. Again, it makes it one of those spectacle musicals. And I think that was one of the things why it kind of resonated with the 90s Disney kids generation so much is because it is a movie musical out of our generation. And the kids on the screen were our age, as kids on the screen, which is kind of interesting because you fast forward just a little bit and you get High School Musical from him. And it kind of did a similar thing where it just kind of caught. And I think if Newsies would have been pushed, well, that's how it caught, is because it didn't do well in the box office. And so they released it on the Disney Channel and it became huge. It exploded on the Disney Channel. And then they released it. And then they put it out on VHS. And those were the two things that just launched it and made it huge. It was a box office flop by all standards. It only made like 2 or 3 million in the box office.
Wow.
It was not a lot. But then once it hit your other distribution formats, it just blew up. And it's again kind of a cult classic.
Was it a movie or a Broadway musical first?
It was a movie, and this was developed fully to be a musical. And it was, in fact, initially developed by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman were going to be the ones doing all the music and pushing it together. But Howard Ashman got ill and was not able to work on this project. So Alan Menken was working on this while they were still finishing up and wrapping up Beauty and the Beast.
Wow. That's so interesting. Yeah. That's so
interesting. And it just kind of, the songs that he was writing for them just they were so good that it just moved more and more into this kind of spectacle, musical spectacle. So you referenced the musical though, so let's cover it there. Like that was pushed by the fans. Like the reason why, it eventually in the 2000s and finally in the teens became a Broadway musical was because the fans pushed for it so much and just kept asking. And it actually is turned out to be one of their more successful Broadway productions.
Wow. Is it still going today, or has it kind of waned off?
It's not on Broadway, but it is traveling. It does have a touring company. Well, nothing right now, but it did pre-COVID. And you can see it on Disney Plus. And if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It is well worth it.
I have not watched the Broadway version of this.
It is really good. They do some updating. They change a few characters around.
Well, in that case, then no. Then I'm out.
But I would say for the better. I was really shocked. When I first heard of a few of the changes they made, I was
tell me who we lost. Tell me who got the axe.
Well, no, I went I want you to discover that. I don't want to rob that discovery from you.
You're gonna make me go watch the musical version. Maybe that's what my wife and I will be doing tonight. Speaking of characters, when that first opening voice starts talking, I'm immediately back in there. When he makes the mention about penny a pape, I'm like, I'm in, I'm sold. You know what's funny is, you know what this character's real name is? Like not the actor, but what the actual character's name is, that they never really talk about his name in it. Racetrack Higgins.
Yeah.
That's the craziest name. I never knew what this guy's name was the entire time, because they don't, like everybody else, like Crutchy and Boots and Jacket, like everybody, they saying their names all the time, but he just comes in and does his wise guy stuff and then goes back out, and they never really say it.
They say it once, but then the other thing is he's always talking about selling his papes at the racetrack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he's like, hey, I got a sure bet. Can you spot me for papes? And then at the end of that day, they're like, hey, what happened? And he goes, hey, you know about that sure bet I told you? Yeah, nobody told a horse.
Nobody told the horse, yeah. No, but Racetrack Higgins, yeah, once the moment he starts talking, it takes me back immediately. And I'm back in that mode.
Yes.
I'm fully bought in. I feel like the way people talked in this was, I don't even know how you can calculate it. 20% of the magic of this, 30% of the magic, just taking you to a new place that I'm here in Tennessee, and I'm not walking around listening to people talk like this. So I think that's some of the adventure that we were talking about, is just like the vernacular and the way that these people are talking.
Well, and you see that in that opening scene when they're moving through the bunkhouse and you're being introduced to all the different characters.
That's the guy.
It is a deep character-driven film. Like, you just feel like you know these characters, and they're different from you. You know, they're newer.
The Delancey brothers.
You just want to.
I just want to say, all of these random lines that just, like, no context, but just make me laugh, make me happy.
It is really good. What is your favorite song?
I knew this was going to come up. Initially, just rewatching it, I wrote down Santa Fe, but I was wrong. I was wrong because "And the World Will Know" gave me goosebumps again.
Oh yeah.
It is my favorite song, with Santa Fe being the second one. Although Santa Fe is the reason that when I was driving from Denver back to Los Angeles several years ago, I took the southern route because there were some storms happening in the Rocky Mountains. And of course, I had to force myself to pull over in Santa Fe, even though I definitely didn't need to, just so I could go, Santa Fe, oh, you, then just like start screaming it. And then people at Subway were kind of like, what are you doing right now? But "And the World Will Know" is, I know "Seize the Day" is a big one too, but like, "And the World Will Know," it's just,
you belt it. You feel it in your soul.
I feel it in my soul, and it gave me goosebumps listening to it again immediately. So Eddie, now the tables have turned. You've got to give me an answer of what your favorite song of one of the most amazing movies is.
So this is, of course, a very difficult question to answer. I think what I have to say is, the way I decide what my favorite song is what is my favorite to sing along with.
Gotta have criteria, so I'm glad you
gotta have criteria, because I mean, they're all so good, they're all so amazing. Like, I love "Carrying the Banner" and "Seize the Day." Like, just I will belt those out, sing them, harmonize with them. But I think my favorite song is "King of New York."
I knew it. I was sitting there going, sing along. Okay, that's because that is a great one. That is definitely, when it came out, I was like, oh, do I want to go back on my decision when we got to that song? But I was like, no, I'm sticking with "And the World Will Know."
It's so good. And I think one of the things that I love about it is every character gets their own little kind of moment, and kind of special thing of like,
even
what would
spots
they
in there, even spots with his tub.
What would they do if, they were king of New York? So yeah, I would have to say that is my favorite song is King of New York. You bring up Spot Collins, and in my research and trying to kind of understand this, I didn't realize this, but and his name's blanking me, but the guy who actually led the real Newsies strike, that was the leader of like Brooklyn. It was the Spot Collins character. And he apparently in real life had like such a distinct Brooklyn accent that anytime he was quoted in the newspapers, they would have to do like the phonetical kind of writing out of everything he said, because it was just so unique to him. But yeah.
Any other history tidbits about the real Newsies strike that you got for us?
This was one that I found this go around. I say this go around because I gotta like go down my research rabbit trails every once in a while. So the actual Newsies strike was resolved more with a compromise, in that they kept the increased price of the paper, but the World, Pulitzer, gave in and allowed that any papers that they don't sell, the newspaper would buy back from the newsboys. So that was the compromise. So the elevated price stayed in real life, but they would buy back from them those things. Now,
the movie's a better ending. The movie is
a better ending. And it's just a few years after that we have the actual child labor laws and all of that start to come into place. So it makes sense from a movie standpoint that they kind of push those together.
Yes.
Because that is the bigger thing that happens here.
Yes. Going back through and rewatching this again, those stood out a lot more this time. When I watched it before, I was more worried about Jackie. I was more worried about Jack and the Newsies and them getting what they deserve and not having the audacity. This time I was like, 10 cents. Interesting. Only 10 cents, but okay, I guess it is a big deal if that's a lot of money at that time, inflation and things like that. But I saw more nuggets this time for the child labor. I was like, oh, that is a bigger thing. Like, not only is it happened just here, but it could happen everywhere where child labor is happening. And you get a lot more sense of that, obviously, when the unions are striking for the trolleys. But I definitely felt a little bit more of those, what do you call, adult problems throughout this, on this second going. When you're a kid watching it, you're just, for me at least, I'm just watching the body language of people. It's like, oh, I like this guy. Oh, I don't like this guy.
What did you think of Teddy Roosevelt this go around? He's always so much fun.
Yeah, he's not really in it that long to have that many opinions of him, but he's kind of like this. I got in on Teddy Roosevelt's.
My favorite, one of my like top 5 moments of the whole movie is Teddy Roosevelt there at the end with his hat, and he's just like, the hat is going up and down, and he's like smiling.
Like he's animatronic, like he's from the Hall of Presidents.
Hall of Presidents, yeah. That's all I can think. It's exactly what I think of him. Like, he looked animatronic there.
I picked up on the fact that he was the governor at that time.
Yes, he's governor
not
at that time.
President.
No,
Missed
that happened
on my
for
first viewing when I was 13 or 10 or whatever the first time I saw this was.
Oh, but such a fun movie. It is one that you can't sit still to. It is, it just kind of makes you want to move.
I would pay to see you have to sit on your hands for this movie. I'd pay to see that.
I was one. I wanted this. I wanted to be in this musical. Like, this wasn't just like, I enjoy watching this. No, it was like, I can remember like being a kid going, man, I wish our school would do Newsies.
We should have pushed harder to do this instead of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
Oh, definitely. I hated You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I was Schroeder, and
I
you
was
were
Linus. I had the blankets.
Linus. Yep.
I jumped around and sang my blankie in me. Very
I
manly.
dyed my hair blonde when I had hair. And that was kind of a miserable experience. But they didn't have it in musical form back then.
Oh, they didn't?
I looked. No.
It hadn't been translated yet. So this must have turned into a musical in the mid 2000s then?
Well, let me look it up here for you.
You look that up while I continue to go down the list of random phrases from this movie that I just
2011 loved. Was when it first began its
That's very recent.
It hit Broadway 2012.
Okay, so this is newer.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I mean, not that much before. Well, probably we didn't hear a ton about it because it was right before Lin-Manuel Miranda came on and shocked the world.
It was not like a runaway success like Aladdin has been, but Aladdin, the Broadway musical, that is. But it did like keep getting extended, and it eventually got extended to an open-ended run, which is a really good sign for Broadway. A lot of Broadway musicals don't get a open-ended run, let alone, a touring company as well. So again, they filmed it and it's on Disney Plus, and it's really, really cool. It's really good. They brought back Alan Menken to kind of rewrite a few of the songs. I think there's a few new ones as well.
So I should watch it?
Yeah. Have I not fully established that need, that vacuum in your life?
Well, I say that what you say is what I say.
It's what I say.
And maybe that's what I will do that.
So that's a good line. Let's do that. My other favorite line is when Jack Kelly grabs one of the thugs and he's like, "This is for Crutchy." Boom, and headbutts him.
The headbutt.
Remember
every
Crutchy? Remember Crutchy? Crutchy? This is for Crutchy.
When he spits on his hand for the first time, he's like, "What's the matter? It's disgusting." Then the big ending with the spitting on the hand.
And then of course the other favorite line of mine is, whatever happened to that big tip of yours? Yeah, nobody told a horse.
We got the quintessential line: headlights don't sell papes. Newsies sell papes.
Yes,
without us, no one knows nothing.
Oh, it's so good. It's just so good.
My father told me not to lie. Well, my dad told me not to starve. And it's not lying. It's just improving the truth is all. I got several in here, but
keep them rolling. Keep them rolling.
How do you know Meta? You're a friend of my father's. Then when speaking of Meta, when the little kid later on is singing after the long day, singing Coochie Coo with me, and they're just embarrassed, and their parents are like, "Would you like to explain why our son is singing this song?"
Oh, it's so good. It's such a fun movie. I put it.
We're ready to rank it.
Yes.
I'm already guessing that this is going to be on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, it's up there of the Disney 90s
movies.
Two
spots already, Eddie. You filled two of the. You only get four.
And I think the fourth one is going to surprise people. I think it's going to kind of like come out of left field on people because I've already thought of it. But Newsies would be there. I almost wanted to give it to Mighty Ducks. I almost was kind of holding out, but no, I give it to Newsies. So if you're keeping track, it's Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, and Newsies.
Wait, you've used up 3 spots.
Yeah, I've used up 3 spots.
3 whole spots, Eddie. There's not much room.
There's only one spot
left. We're not even to 19. We are 2 years. We are 2 years into the 90s, and you've already used up 3 of your spots. That's why I'm waiting. I want to get through most of them, or get through more of them.
But you know me, like as soon as we brought up this whole Mount Rushmore thing, I sat down at our movie list, which if you haven't gone to our website,
honeywemade.com/movies.
And you can see all of the movies. I sat down with that list and I was like, what is going to be my Mount Rushmore of the 90s? And I made them. And this was the one where I'm like, yes, of course. Well, does it go to Mighty Ducks? Like there was just this brief moment because I love Mighty Ducks a lot. And then I was like, no, this gets it. Now the fourth spot, you're going to have to wait a while. It actually comes towards the end of the decade. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to make you come back for more. But it is there.
It's Cars, isn't it?
You waited till I took a sip of water for that. So yes, I would give this easily 5 gummy worms.
5 gummy worms for me too. There is I don't think we've hit one that if it got 5 that I didn't give it, change it over. Basically once you get to 5, you become gummy worms. Like that's the you magically turn from fruit snacks into gummy worms.
Yes. Yeah.
Which has not been the case for the last one we did, which was Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. That got half, or I think I got 1 fruit snack. Yeah, no, we're giving it the full 5 gummy worm salute on here, and now I just want more gummy worms for myself. That's all I want now. Should we ponder the question? What would have happened if their parents weren't dead? Which we're assuming, or if they had parents in general. All these boys running around with no parents other than Snyder to try to rein them back in. And he obviously is the villain. So all parents are the villains in this.
Well, I mean, Davey has his parents, but he's working because his dad was ill.
Yep.
Or hurt. Yeah. Oh, and I think that in the rewatch, I kind of look back on this now, but especially like as a parent, that opening scene where when they're receiving their food from the nuns. Yep. Yes. It's haunting.
God save my son. Yep. That part.
What part was that?
God save my son.
No, but it shows you, some of these didn't have parents. Some were runaways.
It is such a funny moment to have this massive song. And then all of a sudden it's like nuns.
I didn't get that as a kid. Like that whole scene, like I didn't understand even the mom. Like that just boom straight over my head. Like, what is this random lady doing singing, So watching it back now, it kind of makes more sense. Yeah. It makes you, it sets up the eventual end of the movie of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't be having kids do all this work for us.
Probably. Basically the moral of the story. Are there any other unintended morals of this story other than capitalism is the devil?
Capitalism is the devil, according to this. I am so thankful, though, that Disney Plus warned me that there are tobacco depictions in this film.
Oh, really?
Yes. Well, it tells you now at the beginning of everything, especially to see, teenage boys running around smoking cigars. That's probably not the best thing for their overall health and development.
For their overall health.
Yeah. If working in the coal mines ain't going to kill you.
Smoking cigars, but we are now warned about it.
Did you watch this with your kids?
No, when you had texted me that we were on for tonight, I had some busy work to be doing.
So you just put it on.
So I put it on right next to me, was rendering a lot of projects, some video projects, and was able to emotionally take that in while doing road tasks.
Isn't that what's amazing about this movie? Is it can kind of be a soundtrack unto itself.
Oh yeah,
like I like listening to the soundtrack, but I also like listening to the movie as if it's its own soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that quite a lot.
Yep.
Like, I'll just put it on and work on some models.
Would you have let your daughter date either of the two main characters in this?
No, I don't. That is that element of sitting watching Davy's parents is you're like, what is going on here? Like, especially the youngest son, of letting him kind of run off. You're like,
He probably doesn't need to be going off with his big brother.
right. You're like, why aren't the parents stopping him right now?
And they're proud. They're very proud.
Oh, proud. You know.
So proud. Almost as proud as, what's his name from another movie that we previously did, Shipwrecked, where the father's like, so proud to send his son off to die on the ship as the first mate. It's kind of like that. Different times. Son.
Different times.
What do you say? My dad's so proud because we know Jack Kelly, who occasionally eats with us.
The emphasis on occasionally, of course.
Big emphasis on that. So yeah, any final words about Newsies that you want to just like give to the world?
Carry the banner.
Carry the banner.
And seize the day.
Seize the day. All I can tell you is, well, some of them don't hear so well, so we're going to soak them.
Soak them. Isn't that a great phrase? Like, why don't we use that more?
And it doesn't even mean anything. It's just like, we're going to soak them. Okay. Well, what does that actually mean? There's kind of some okay, I get it, whatever. But that's it for Newsies. We have hit
such a good movie.
Such a great movie. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Eddie, do you have a good poll question for our listeners today? You already got it in the can?
Yes. Which Newsy group would you be a part of? Which Newsy leader would you follow? Would you follow Jack Kelly or would you follow Spot Collins?
Is there any third option in there? We're gonna open it up to being a scab?
No,
that's not even an option.
Don't even.
No,
why
Mr.
Are you
Weisel.
listening?
No, Mr. Weisel. Mr. Weasel.
Mr.
Weisel.
Yeah, why are you even listening to this if you would be a scabber? Like, no, we don't want you.
Okay.
Brooklyn or Manhattan? You got to pick which.
Brooklyn or Manhattan. Brooklyn.
Have no fear. Brooklyn is here.
Yep, that's another one. I don't know that I got that one down, but I did. I have it. Never fear. Brooklyn is here. Well, that's awesome. Yes. But I think I gotta go. I gotta get my tap shoes out to do some choreography tonight.
I'm gonna pick up a new hobby of block printing and start my own newspaper.
Sign me up.